So, ma'am, the presentation I'm going to give is based on my research paper, जो मैंने midterm के लिए लिखा है, and the question I chose for my paper was about how women are portrayed and how the stereotypes are attached with them and how they are portrayed in Pakistani films or other films. So instead of a film, I chose a Pakistani drama serial on which I could give an insight of this topic. So my
Right,
topic is
right.
stigma.
What is the year of production?
It
It
is.
says
It
Ruswai,
was. Yes.
but
It
it does
was.
not. Ji.
Sorry, I thought that that's not necessary. It was first released in on October 1st, 2019, and it ended in April 2020.
All right. So it's a 2019 production. Okay.
Yeah. 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 So I will start my presentation now. It is the social stigmas and portrayal of women in Pakistani drama serials, and I will be looking at Ruswai as a reference. So it is the cover photo of the drama serial that was aired first in October, and then it carried on till April 2020. So, introducing my topic, it is said that in our society, in Pakistan, is said to be a very hard country where there are many problems within the society. There are many norms to fight with, and when it comes to women, there are many stigmas attached to women, many stereotypes, and the drama serial Ruswai portrays the similar stereotypes which are attached and from which we are fighting each day. And it is sad that many of those now have become our normal reality. For example, if we get harassed, that is very normal. If someone is talking about family honor attached to a woman, a girl, and how she's forced into taking decisions, that is very normal. So this drama, which is about a girl who is who is sexually assaulted, who is abducted, and who is raped, is left there to is just left there on the roadside, and she goes back home, and it is about how she is taken back, how she is seen after this one incident that takes place. So I will be discussing how women are presented in this society, mainly in dramas, and the example we have is like मेरे पास तुम हो, जिसमें एक ऐसे ड्रामा भी हैं जिसमें औरतों को इस एक बहुत ही फेमस लाइन थी, दो टके की औरत, ये लाइन जो थी बहुत लोगों ने इसको अप्रिशिएट भी किया, और उसके बाद जो है इस ड्रामा को काफ़ी हिट्स मिले, काफ़ी व्यूज़ मिले, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ रुसवाई टू डिड रियली वेल, and the audience had a great impact of this drama on themselves, and there were many views, and although it wasn't as much talked about, but this was viewed by many. So yeah, I'll read this slide for you. So, media in Pakistan, by and large, dominates gender issues in a partial way. Men are shown as the ones who have all the power, earners for a living, forceful, uncaring, and manipulative, while women are depicted as weak, frail, needy, and lacking in enlightened approach. Ruswai, too, in a way, reflects that very image of the society, but at the same time breaks the stereotype of women being weak and helpless. It is the story of a gang rape survivor who decides, being compelled by her family and husband, to stay silent about what happened. She still rejects all norms of honor set by society and speaks up for herself and seeks justice from the law by punishing the culprits.
आपकी
Uh,
आवाज बहुत अच्छी नहीं है आमना. आई थिंक इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट दैट पीपल कैन हियर यू. तो कहाँ सेल फोन यूज कर रही हैं फॉर कम्युनिकेशन?
no, ma'am, it's laptop. Let me try a little setup.
ओके ओके, आई वुड सजेस्ट कि आप में से जिस जिसके पास केबल मौजूद है, प्लीज ट्राई ट्राई कि प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए केबल कनेक्शन यूज करें इंस्टेड ऑफ वायरलेस, बिकॉज वी हैव सो मेनी पीपल इन दिस क्लासरूम. आप अपना कर लें. आई एम टॉकिंग टू अदर्स के जो बाकी लोग हैं, इफ दे कैन यूज केबल फॉर कनेक्शन, क्योंकि टू अवॉइड इंटरप्शन जो वॉइस क्वालिटी है. जी आमना, प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
So I will be referring to a particular scene because according to our paper, we were supposed to take one scene and discuss it. And because it's a course where we are talking about media and we're talking about film techniques, and then we are talking about representation of women. So this scene that I picked is when it is like a linking scene that links her between the past and present and then leading to future. So it
The,
is when the girl.
the scene should be less than 30 seconds, so you should stop exactly, where you want us to see.
Ma'am, that is, I haven't placed a video clip. I have given an explanation, so I didn't know if we can put the video clips. I don't know how PowerPoint really works much. So मैंने लिख दिया है वो पूरा part उसका just the way I've done it in paper.
Okay.
Because yeah, so I can just explain the scene. उसमें होता है कि when the girl is abducted and the family refuses each other to file a complaint of the abduction because they think that if they'll file a complaint, the word will get out and people will get to know that their daughter is abducted, and this will bring shame and disgrace to their family. So they just sit there and wait what happens. So after the entire night, when she's abducted, she's raped, she's sexually assaulted, she's thrown at a roadside and is found by a woman, a random unknown woman. She finds her, she covers her up. She finds her in a very bad condition. Her clothes are torn up, there are bruises all over her body and her face, and it's like the direction is done in a way that it isn't said by the girl or anyone that oh look she's raped or oh I got raped. No, what happened to me. No, it is shown by her appearance, by her expressions, by her acting. The girl Samira, when the woman brings her, the next scene is right from the point the chadar is given on her. जो औरत उसे जो औरत उसको वहां से उठाती है रोड के साइड से, वो उस पे अपनी चादर देती है क्योंकि उसके कपड़े फटे होते हैं. तो वो उसको नेक्स्ट सीन एग्जैक्टली ये है कि वो उसके डोर बेल बजाती है एंड देयर इज दिस devastated circumstances at our house. Everyone is quiet, but there are tears and everyone is sad. कि अब क्या होगा? Now the doorbell rings, the maid opens the door, and she screams for her mother, Samira's mother, and she calls her that because she looks at Samira and what in the condition she is. So in this entire scene, the scene when she enters the house, this is like more than 6 minutes, but there is not a single dialogue in this scene. Everything is portrayed by their body movement, by their expressions, by the way they are behaving. The silence is there. No one is asking anything to each other. Everyone is just looking at her. They're devastated of what has happened. So Rubina Ashraf, who is the director, I think she has done a great job here because showing so much in one scene and then with no dialogues is a good job, I think, and which is done well. And I also that the actors were really good. Sana Javed, who is playing Samira, and there's Miss Samira Heel, who is playing her mother. They all are, in this one scene, and yeah. So they're not saying anything. They're just expressing it through their tears and their facial expressions, their body movement, and everything like that. So yeah, this horrifying silence which is there, and slowly and gradually, it starts turning into cries. Her sister is shocked, but then she ends up crying. Her mother, who ends up crying. Her brother sees her. He runs towards her. How he takes her and grabs her, lies her down on a So far, in this one scene, this was a very powerful scene. And about this scene, Sana Javed also posted that how she was depressed, how how she said that to enact this scene, I for days was depressed. One can only imagine the reality of hopelessness and anger of actual victims. Second is what the writer has to say. In this, the writer talked about this interview was on this website, Review It PK, and I took it from there and I have mentioned it in my references as well. So the writer is Naila Ansari, and she has talked about how this one stigma of rape has been, taking this journey ahead, how much time they took, how much they had to discuss about what they're going to show to their audience, how there are, news on channels which are shown, but when it comes to drama, there has to be a certain entertainment for people to watch. For a family drama, they have to stick to certain, limitations and, points where they discuss one thing, one topic to an extent, and how they portray it. Then there was a reading that we had in class, which was by Ma'am Wajiha, which was on representations in commercial films in Pakistan. So when we were talking about the chui mui girl, और मतलब जो बड़ी मासूम सी है, जो गुड़िया की तरह है, जो बहुत innocent, sweet और उस तरह की है, and जो बहुत ज़्यादा रिबेल नहीं करते, उस तरह की जो एक एक्सपेक्टेशन होती है, उस तरह की एक जो सिम्बलाइज किया जाता है औरतों को, और फिर उनके साथ गुड और बैड के टाइटल्स भी जोड़ दिए जाते हैं कि अच्छी क्या होती है लड़की और बुरी लड़की, जो गलत मतलब जिस तरह से नहीं होना चाहिए, हाउ अ गर्ल इज नॉट सपोज टू बी, इज अ बैड गर्ल. But here, when Samira is, you know, her case is here, her parents, her family, they are not, supporting her when it comes to, what happens next after the she goes through this period. She wants to file a complaint. She wants to fight this, but she's, being shunned away from this. She's being told to, stay quiet, stay silent on, because it is about the family honor. It is about how people are going to see it. It is about how she is going to be the woman who lost her honor, who lost, this modesty, and this girl who is raped. How can she be a modest girl? How can she be, this honorable woman? And how, her family is going to pay for what happened to her? And everything is, put on the shoulders of this one woman who is not at fault, and she has to bear the burden, and then she's not even allowed to speak for herself. And then towards the conclusion, I would generally talk about it, that how, when it comes to the responsibilities of the family, she is asked for so much. But then, when it comes to her individual personality, no one helps her out of her traumas. No one talks about her, mental condition. No one, how she gets the payback is her father shoots himself because he thinks that she's too damaged, the family name is too damaged. How she got married to this man who cheated on her because he did not take her as the pious, nice, good woman to be with. So he got interested somewhere else. He started cheating on his own wife, and also told her to stay quiet because now she was his wife, and how his family name was at stake too, because he married a woman who got raped. And now what she's supposed to do is she's supposed to be thankful to him, and she's supposed to be silent on that. And later on, he ends up divorcing the girl, which is like the answer to her questions. That when she says you've been cheating on me, he says that you should be thankful because I was the one who married a woman who got raped, and you're not honorable anymore, but still you're with me, so you should be thankful enough. But that doesn't happen later on. There, the woman is left alone to fight with her own demons. The good part that my argument says is that how after everything she went through, she still stick to the one part, which was not staying silent on this, speaking up about what went wrong, what the wrongs are in our society, addressing them through a Pakistani drama serial, which does not really happen much. And then towards the end, we get to have a glimpse of Muftara Bibi, who is a real life victim of a gang rape, who actually went through a similar case. We cannot say that this story is entirely based on Muftara Bibi's story, but the plot is similar because she was became a victim of a gang rape, and her family refused to her to go to the police and file a complaint or something like that. But she went against everything, and she did file a complaint. She did do a case and proper उसका पूरे process से गुजरी थी, and then she did win the case as well, fortunately. And today she has been working for women's rights, for the other victims of rape and acid attacks and other things. And towards the end, I see Ruswai to serving a prop, I think it did serve a purpose to to the audience. It did give the audience a different lens to look at other aspects, to look at other things, and how the major one was that how a woman is not at fault of what goes wrong with her. It's the society, it's the people who see her that way. Although she is not to be blamed, the ones who did wrong are supposed to be blamed for it. So towards the end, this is the picture of Sana Javed who played Samira, and this is Muftara Bibi with her. This is the last scene of this drama when Muftara Bibi comes to meet Samira. So yeah, thank you.
All right. I think you went a bit over time. So I would remind everyone to please stick to time limit. Acha ji, any questions or comments? Anyone? Questions or comments, please?
I really liked this, personally really liked this show. I think it was like the only or one of the only few Pakistani dramas that it depicted rape in a correct or manner, not with victim blaming, because usually Pakistani dramas do that a lot. Isme shuru mein thi, but like not that much. She makes it to a point, the director makes it to a point where
Yeah,
she
they
makes sure
portrayed the
that the
both
people
sides.
know the abusers get what they deserved.
Okay, very nice point, Ikra. Ji, anyone else? I think victim blaming is a serious problem. Ji, anyone else? Any other comment?
Miss, it's not related to the content, but the slides were very like organized. I could see that there's a lot of effort that she's put into them, and also the way that Amna explained everything. So that was like really nice.
Mm,
Yes, and all the research work as well, and all the references of drama serials. It was really मतलब काफी effort डाली हुई थी तो yeah.
All right. Okay. Any other comment? Amina Waheed, I think it was a very good presentation. I think कि आपने जो discuss किया about scene details or the way you picked up points, they were really nice. I think you missed some of the classes. Do you know there is a reading in Google Classroom that focuses on rape itself?
Ma'am, I did look at the readings. I also mentioned references from the readings in my paper because you also asked about the putting the quotes. So I did have to go through the readings. I'm not sure which one you are asking about, but I do know that they were about different portrayals of women. Your paper was there, although I was not able to access to one of your articles. And then other one was of some Ahmed.
All right. Because you still have to write your final paper, so I would suggest that
Okay.
you look at this reading in Google Classroom. The title is Sexualized Objects and Honor. Okay,
I
and in
have,
the,
I have, I have checked it.
yes.
Yeah, I've
So
read it.
if you click it, you will find this paper. It says rape in Pakistani films, right? So,
Okay, yes.
because this was an honor issue and a rape issue simultaneously, and you quoted you quoted at least one paper from Google Classroom. So I think this was one of the most important readings we have right now in
Ma'am,
Google
I did quote
Classroom.
from that too. I did quote from that too. In the presentation, I have only quoted one, but in my midterm paper,
Okay,
I've
so you're
quoting
saying
three
that you
papers.
have, if you have included Sadaf Ahmed in your paper, it's good,
Yes, yes, I have
because
Sadaf Ahmed.
she is talking about ultimate fate of women who are raped, or
Yeah, she also talked
who
about how honor
yes,
is attached with it, how rape has been totally shifted to, from having this powerful impact on women. It is, she has really, written it well and explained things well in order to, explain this topic.
okay, okay, good, all right, okay, thank you. Ji, Amna Waheed, sorry, Amna Iqbal.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, okay, so you want
Ma'am,
to?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay, okay.
very well. I think you are loud and clear. जी आमना.
जी मैम मैं बस स्क्रीन शेयर कर रही हूँ और उसके बाद I'll start the presentation.
All right. I think many of us may have seen this clip from Ruswai, जिसमें this girl is lying outside and the maid actually picks her up, finds her there, and she, I think, covers her with a sheet. जी, आपने scene select किया है तो you can also show, a few seconds
Ma'am,
of
can I
the
show it
scene.
right now?
Yes, you can show before starting the presentation or in between.
Thank you so much. Can I just show it right now? It's not that long. It's like 6 minutes,
Okay.
5 minutes. Okay. 1 second.
Uh, we can't see a 5 minute clip. We can see less than 30 seconds clip. तो आप उसमें से if you have selected part, just go to that part.
All right, ma'am. 1 second. Just 1 second.
ये तो this is Amna Waheed's clip. वालेकुम अस्सलाम जी.
मैम मैं अपनी क्लिप बीच में शेयर करना चाहूँगी if that's
Okay,
okay.
okay, that's perfectly fine जी. Which play is it or film?
मैम मेरी मूवी है NH10 अनुष्का शर्मा बॉलीवुड मूवी है अनुष्का
Okay,
शर्मा.
perfectly fine जी.
Okay. My topic was basically the representations and issues and stereotypes of, of honor attached to women. So, wo jo hai, I'll discuss that. But before this, I want to talk about the role of women in South Asian societies. Because I'm saying South Asian societies because, we have a shared link. We have had shared cultures and norms in cinemas and media. So this is why there's so many commonalities. जो
Are
content है
you
उसमें
attempting question 3 or 4?
मैम 3 लेकिन मुझे थोड़ा सा वो देना था बिकॉज इट्स रिलेटेड टू द माय टॉपिक एज वेल तो
Okay,
जस्ट
all right, good.
दिस तो उसके बाद जो है वो करना था so the role of women in these societies have has always been very patriarchal for societies and the fact that it has internalized and desensitized to the issues has caused the media to produce content that only focuses on belittling women Ma'am, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I want to show two sides of the media कि किस तरह से they take women or use it for their own good, and also making sure that they are uh, suppressed in a way कि it's convenient for them to have their own ways with it, with the use of women in either media or real lives. So the shows are usually about this the superior stance in the society, and women to be either submissive who hide behind domestication, or they slut shame them for having autonomy. It could be either bodily or political or moral. And on the other hand, the objectivity theory has provided a theoretical framework. So yeah, they make sure that the couple is rescued, but when they see that they're getting beaten up brutally, to wo because they've witnessed something so brutal, so the gang makes sure that they're also dead. And there's this entire वो सारा फिर यही होता है with the Anushka Sharma, what's her name, Meera. She makes sure that her husband is in somewhere in the movie, and because he at point he dies, and she's the only one who's left, and she you know uh, she avenges those men who were once trying to kill her. So in a way they've also shown how one thing can lead to another. I mean, they were not directly related to this the couple, but since wo jo hai, this is so problematic, the idea of honor killing and everything, and the stigmas attached to it, but that is why these people who didn't from another class, from another city, who've come here just to have fun, but they end up getting involved into it. So that shows how this is not a little thing. There's so many problems that are attached with it. उसके अलावा जो है and this movie is I really like the movie because the first half is executed, has executed beautiful layers of themes like class, gender, and equality and stability, जो दोनों sides of the वो उन्होंने classes दिखाई हुई हैं. The second half takes it to the logical conclusion as to why Meera did what she did. I mean, she avenges them, the guy who killed the couple, and what made her do it. So I think the story build up is very good. Then the dialogues are written are very much well thought and put exactly in the scenes where they are needed. For example, only they understand and associate themselves with. It can be anything from a dialogue or a song or any sign. For instance, in the clip, in the movie, there's this clip where Meera and her husband are watching this Tamil film, whose dialogues are, used twice in the film. One is when they both are deciding as to where to go to for the vacation, and secondly, when her husband is badly wounded. So, his body temperature is dropping, and he needs to be needs to be maintained in order for him to survive. So either ways, the same dialogues have been used to for different contexts each time, and giving it entirely different narrative. And I think it's very smart and creative of the writer to be using the same dialogues in different situations and scenarios. And and there's this trailer, since it's long, तो I wouldn't be playing with, but वहाँ पे जो है there's this guy who says यहाँ बिजली पानी तो पहुँचता नहीं, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या खाक पहुँचेगी। और एक और भी है जहाँ पे आपकी डेमोक्रेसी ना गुड़गांव के आखिरी मॉल पे खत्म हो जाती है। So इसमें जो है what I notice is कि how the representation of the the law and the the people who are responsible for it see the things happening around them in their areas, how they see them, and how it's okay for them and for the people being this brutal, being this animalistic, showing those animalistic instincts in them, and justifying it कि हाँ it's okay if someone, because यहाँ पे तो ऐसे ही होगा, यहाँ पे कोई कानून नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, so we can't really do anything. And even in the trailer, when she goes to the police and she asks for help, so they deny on her face because they're like, we don't want to get involved into it because this is something that is a private matter, and what the woman did and what the couple did is not okay for I mean, it's about the honor and what she the वो भी जो है उन्होंने काफी अच्छा दिखाया है, प्लस उसमें जो है the depiction of characters, I feel like it was very executed very nicely. The character, the Satbir character who
Amna, can you hear me?
who plays the guy who kills his sister in the name of honor. Yes, ma'am.
जी आमना प्लीज ट्राई टू कंक्लूड, आई थिंक कि आप टाइम से ऊपर चली गई हैं एंड
जी मैम, तो इसमें जो है आई रियली लाइक कि हाउ the characters were very much justifying their role in the film. Like the guy did not have many dialogues, but his body language, his facial expressions and anger and madness in his eyes can be witnessed, in the way he kills his sister and his husband is I think it's uski depiction scene mein bhi kafi unhone abhi dikhai di hai. It's very long. I mean, the scene is for like I think good 15 to 20 minutes जिसमें उन्होंने सारा दिखाया है. And the reason मुझे जो लग रहा था why they have done it, because they wanted to show the actuality कि उस time में क्या हो रहा होता है, किस तरह से जो है how much anger it takes and how the manpower it takes to kill someone. So I think this is very, and how उसमें जो है this scene जहाँ पे he's being dragged, और वो जो है it looks very real. So the reason I just wanted to although उसमें सिर्फ ये scenes हैं जिसमें बात की जा रही है, mainly the focus is more on this couple, Meera and Arjun's, but I wanted to show how it's the idea of honor killing is linked with not just the person who's associated with it, but also the people living in a society and how they've internalized it, how the women, the mothers are okay with their daughters being killed in the name of honor, because there's so much shame and blame attached to it, that the victim is always blamed for the things that are, and it's always about the morality and the ethics, but at the same time it also shows the patriarchal system that we live in, that the man who also uses this woman to for its own gaze, but at the same time when the male ego is questioned, then they use the same woman to belittle her and make sure that she's either killed or abused, or so that she is repressed, and it further feeds the toxic male ego that many of our societies have.
Okay,
So there's
please.
that.
मैं आपको मैंने बताया था कि I have a meeting at VC's office at 10:30, तो मुझे within 2-3 minutes I'll have to go. तो
Yes, ma'am.
मैं अगर आपकी presentation खत्म हो गई है तो I want to record attendance first and then we will open it to discussion. Or I will have to go for almost half an hour. Please be available until 12:30 क्योंकि class ends at 12:30. तो मैं BC के office से if I return say within if I can return sooner than half an hour. So as soon as I return मैं आपको WhatsApp में दोबारा connect करके class दोबारा restart कर दूंगी. So I want everyone to be available until 12:30. At the same time, I want to ask Iqra, is she here? Iqra, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I wanted to ask you that if I do not discontinue this session, can you continue it and take care of the presentation and make sure that everyone discusses after the presentation? And I will listen to the recording later or to see what everyone has presented and I can share my comments later. Can you take care of what I'm saying right now?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Of
Okay?
course.
If everyone is comfortable, because I would prefer that we do not discontinue this session for half an hour. I would like this session continues and I can share my comments after hearing the recording. I think at least 1 to 2 people can present and Iqra can take care of discussion among students in my absence. And I think all of you can take care of this in my absence. Is that okay? Is everyone okay with it?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I will record attendance and
The only concern I have is that I don't know which order are we following. I mean, are people aware of when
people know that we are following the order that I can share the list of the students with you.
ठीक है. If you
तो मैं उसको आपके WhatsApp group में कर देती हूँ, right? तो आप you can take care of it, okay? अच्छा, meanwhile, anyone do you have questions for Amina Iqbal? Do you have questions on comments on Amina's presentation?
I watched the film in its channel and I agree with what she said because I saw the class representation that was taken in the film and it showed very accurately कि honor एक lower class के लिए क्या होगा और एक like upper class के लिए क्या होगा and how they react to similar situations and how some are accustomed to all that and others look at it as a big cultural shock because they are not aware of that. So I saw that in the film when I watched it. So I think that was a great job choosing a film like that to represent honor.
Okay, all right. Any comments on the content of the presentation? Anyone else? All I want to tell you, Amina, आपकी presentation was fine. मेरी थोड़ी सी सिर्फ 2-3 चीजें हैं कि I wanted to know कि आपने क्या literature use किया. You know, it was important that people select some quotations from the readings which are there in Google Classroom. So I was looking for kind of literature and I wasn't sure क्योंकि आपने slides में अपने literature नहीं add किया. So I am giving you comments to make sure it's okay. It's okay. I want you to know that then when you write your final paper, make sure कि आप Google Classroom में से you are using some literature and you are also using other literature. I was slightly confused कि आपकी thesis statement क्या है. You know, every paper has some sort of thesis statement. और वो confusion इस वजह से हुई that when you referred to the scene, you were talking about number one, you were vague, a bit vague. जब आप comments देते हैं ना like के dialogues are excellent and camera shots are excellent and everything suits the content of the film. ये थोड़ी सी vague statement है. It's very important that you clearly say कि in scene so and so dialogues and you mention the dialogue that is there in that particular scene. आपने 2-3 जो dialogues mention किए वो थे कि democracy गांव के आखिरी मॉल पर खत्म हो जाती है number one and then you talked about बिजली पानी or something, you said something about
हाँ
constitution.
जी
So these were the things that actually confused me. I could not understand कि जो
जी
constitution
मैम
का reference है, constitution का जो reference है, how that is associated with, for example, honor killing issue, ठीक है? तो और या फिर स्टीरियोटाइप, क्योंकि
यस
यू वर डिस्कसिंग द स्टीरियोटाइप्स। तो जब आपने कहा कि डेमोक्रेसी मॉल वहाँ गांव के आखिरी मॉल पर खत्म हो जाती है, उस वक्त भी आई वाज कंफ्यूज्ड कि उसका स्टीरियोटाइप से सिलेक्टेड डायलॉग का स्टीरियोटाइप से क्या रिलेशनशिप है। सो आई थिंक यू वर प्रोबेबली
मैम मैंने
रिफरिंग।
इश्यूज की बात की थी कि उसके जी
जी, मैं आपको सिर्फ ये बता रही थी कि ये सारा जो था वो बेसिकली जो है इस वजह से
जी
था
जी
कि आपको उसको शो करना था, राइट?
जी
तो ये प्रॉब्लम थी जिसकी वजह से वो
जी मैम
नहीं हो पा रहा था। ठीक है, तो आप प्लीज, सिर्फ आपको मैं यही
जी
बताना
मैम
चाह रही थी कि व्हेन यू राइट योर फाइनल पेपर, मेक श्योर यू आर selecting dialogues which are relevant to your thesis statement, और which are relevant to, और सीन सिलेक्शन भी बड़ी क्लैरिटी के साथ आपकी थीसिस
ओके मैम
स्टेटमेंट के साथ और उनसे वो कर रही हो। तो मेक श्योर कि आप जो है ना, वो कोई चीज जो है वो वेग ना लगे फॉर वट एवर रीजन, और आपकी जो कमेंट्स आप जो भी लिख रहे होंगी पेपर, उसमें कोई चीज जनरल
ओके
ना
मैम
साउंड करे, जनरल ना साउंड करे। यू हैव टू बी वेरी, यू हैव टू बी वेरी क्लियरली वेरी स्पेसिफिक। तो जो थीसिस स्टेटमेंट जो आपका सेंट्रल स्पाइन ऑफ द एसे है, इट शुड रिवॉल्व अराउंड
यस मैम
योर मेन आइडिया। overall it was fine. All I am saying के avoid generalizing, okay? जनरल कमेंट जो है वो आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन को हर्ट करता है,
जी मैम जी
ठीक है? ओके
जी मैम
ओके, गुड, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू मैम
Thank you, ma'am.
ओके इकरा, कैन यू सी द लिस्ट इन व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
so please start the next presentation in this order. I think Areeba, if she is around, she should
Okay.
present now, और अगर वो ना कर सके तो make sure कि somebody is presenting.
Hasan Amir has to perform in front in afterwards. Is he here?
Yes, Iqra, I'm here.
Okay, ठीक है.
So this is my midterm presentation for the course Women in Media, or a little introduction at the first. The presentation basically वो जो 4 questions थे, उसमें से question number 3 है जो मैंने select करके तो अपना research work और presentation उसके base पे किया है. So the presentation is basically, it discusses representation of women, stereotypes and issue of honor in Pakistani film. इसको डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए, एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए जो रेफरेंस फिल्म ली गई है वो है पाकिस्तानी फिल्म है बोल, शुएब मंसूर साहब की। और इंट्रोडक्शन हल्का सा बताता चलो अबाउट द थीसिस स्टेटमेंट। द मेन आइडिया ऑफ द प्रेजेंटेशन इज दैट वुमेन आर सीन एज अ मिनॉरिटी, उनको सप्रेस किया जाता है, दे आर डोमिनेटेड बाय द मेल जेंडर, और उनको इक्वल राइट्स नहीं मिलते और ना ही वो इक्वली देखी जाती है सोसाइटी में टू मेन। और यही रियलिटी जो है वो पाकिस्तानी फिल्म ड्रामा में शो की जाती है। इसके ऊपर काफी नेगेटिव क्रिटिसिज्म भी होता है अक्सर कि पाकिस्तान की पॉजिटिव साइड क्यों नहीं दिखाई जाती और वो सारा कुछ, लेकिन दिस इज हाउ इट इज। और पाकिस्तानी फिल्में बिल्कुल वही दिखाया जा रहा है जो सोसाइटी में है। और इसकी सबसे बड़ी और सबसे अच्छी एग्जांपल पोल मिलती है जिसमें मल्टीपल सोशल इश्यूज के ऊपर बात की गई है। सो बेसिकली डिस्कशन में आई प्रूव माय थीसिस स्टेटमेंट यूजिंग रेफरेंसेस फ्रॉम बोल, और उसमें बोल के अंदर थ्रू आउट भी बोल को हम ब्रेक डाउन करेंगे और एक स्पेसिफिक सीन है उसको भी ब्रेक डाउन करूंगा in on scene, the camera movement and angles, editing technique, sound effect वगैरह में, to explain कि कैसे उसमें ये सारी चीजें जिस तरह मैंने पहले मेंशन किया, रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ वुमेन और जो स्टीरियोटाइप्स वगैरह वो किस तरह रिप्रेजेंट और शो होते हैं। तो बेसिकली बोल जो मूवी है, इट इज 2011 फिल्म, उर्दू लैंग्वेज पाकिस्तानी सोशल ड्रामा फिल्म है वो, विच इज रिटन डायरेक्टेड एंड प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय शुएब मंसूर। कास्ट भी काफी फेमस थी इसकी, आतिफ असलम था, मायरा खान थी, उमैमा मलिक थी, एंड द लेजेंडरी शफकत चीमा साहब थे इसके अंदर। तो इसका एक सीन है, आई ट्राई अगर मैं दिखा सकता हूँ इसको इस वक्त आप लोगों को, और फिर बाकी मैं इस पर डिस्कशन। यस, वो मैं नहीं दिखा पाऊंगा क्योंकि वो मेरा अपना पर्सनल अकाउंट था जिससे मैंने लॉग इन किया था, तो इस वाले की हिस्ट्री में वो नहीं आएगा, शो नहीं होगा। खैर बेसिकली मैं आपको लोगों को डिस्क्राइब करता हूँ। सीन इस तरह था कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मिज़ॉन सीन जो है, या मिज़ॉन सीन इज अ फ्रेंच टर्म which is used for arrangement or stage direction for props, scenery and actors used in film and theater. तो बेसिकली जो सीन है वो ऐसा है कि जो फादर है उसमें बॉल के अंदर हकीम साहब वो चल रहे होते हैं अपने कमरे में, एक साइड पे चल रहे होते हैं, और दूसरी तरफ हम देखते हैं कि उनकी बेटी जमीन पे बैठ के सब्जियां काट रही है। दूसरी तरफ माँ भी इसी तरह जमीन पे बैठ के अपने घर के और काम कर रही है, और बेड पे बाकी दो बेटियां बैठी हैं जो जिनको मतलब बाप ने कहा है कि भाई तुम लोगों ने दुआ मांगते रहने कि पाकिस्तान मैच जीते। बेसिकली रेडियो के ऊपर जो है आपकी एक मैच की कमेंट्री चली होती है जो हकीम साहब सुन रहे होते हैं, और जिस तरह अगर आप लोगों को पता होगा, नहीं पता तो मैं बताता चलता हूँ कि बेसिकली हकीम साहब का कैरेक्टर जो फिल्म में है वो काफी एक मुसलमान, मतलब कुछ हद से ज्यादा ही मुसलमान है हर चीज के बारे में। उनको लगता है कि मैं दुआ मांगूंगा तो पाकिस्तान मैच जीतेगा और वो सारा कुछ। तो वो अपनी चारों बेटियों को कह देते हैं कि सर आप लोगों ने दुआ करते रहने, और उस चीज से आपकी दुआओं से पाकिस्तान मैच जीतेगा। और बेसिकली उसके अंदर हकीम साहब की एक बेटी जो होती है वो बीच में शाहिद अफरीदी का जिक्र करती है कि शाहिद अफरीदी उसको बहुत पसंद है और काफी अच्छा लगता है, जिसपे वो हकीम साहब जो है वो तब जाते हैं। और उनका एक डोमिनेटिंग मेल जो रोल है, जो जिस तरह ये हमारी सोसाइटी में होता है मोस्टली, वो एक मेल डोमिनेटिंग, मतलब वो घर के इकलौते मर्द हैं लेकिन वो सब पे उस वक्त हावी हो जाते हैं, सबको डांटने लग जाते हैं कि तुम लोग दुआ नहीं कर रहे, तुम लोग अजीब बेहयाई जो है, मतलब क्रिकेट मैच के अंदर भी बेहयाई का वो वर्ड यूज करते हैं कि तुम लोगों ने बेहयाई ढूंढ लिया है क्रिकेट मैच के अंदर, और वो सारा कुछ। तो ये सीन है इसने में वो हम देखते हैं कि अलग अलग कैमरा एंगल टेक्निक्स जो यूज की गई हैं, जिस तरह लो एंगल शॉट्स, हाई एंगल शॉट्स होते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल एक हाई एंगल शॉट जो होता है, अगर एक कैरेक्टर को नीचे दिखा के उसके आई लेवल से ऊपर से शॉट शो किया जा रहा है तो उसकी वीकनेस दिखाते हैं। तो थ्रू आउट ये जो सीन है उसमें हकीम साहब की जो बेटियां हैं और जो उनकी वाइफ है, उनके ऊपर हाई एंगल कैमरा एंगल यूज किया गया है उनको वीक दिखाने के लिए। और जहाँ जहाँ पे हकीम साहब को शो किया गया तो एक लो एंगल यूज रखा हुआ है, ताकि लो एंगल के ऊपर जब आपका कैरेक्टर शो होता है तो वो कैमरा उसके नीचे होता है बेसिकली, तो वो कैमरा पे डोमिनेट कर रहा होता है। और क्योंकि ये ऑलमोस्ट आप कह सकते हैं कि पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू शॉट्स हैं, तो वो जो डोमिनेंस जो हकीम साहब की कैमरे पे है वो एक्चुअली उनकी अपनी बेटियों पे शो हो रही है उस कैमरा एंगल के ऊपर। तो इस तरह अलग अलग कैमरा एंगल टेक्निक के साथ भी हकीम साहब की जो डोमिनेंस थी वो थ्रू आउट शो की गई है उसमें सीन के अंदर। फिर उनको पूरे अपना पूरा जो सीन था उसके अंदर कोई प्रैक्टिकल लाइट यूज नहीं की गई थी, कोई एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी लाइटिंग सेटअप नहीं किया गया था, बिल्कुल नेचुरल लाइट सेट की गई थी जो विंडोज में से आ रही थी, उसमें भी प्रिंट दिया हुआ था ताकि क्लियरली पता चल जाएगा विंडो में से लाइट्स आ रही हैं सारी। और वो इसलिए शो किया गया था ताकि उस घर के अंदर की एक फाइनेंशियल जो स्ट्रगल है वो शो हो सके कि किस तरह वहां पे सिर्फ मतलब नेचुरल लाइट है, कोई उनके अपनी उस वक्त घर के अंदर लाइट नहीं है। और इवन रात के जो सीन फिर वहां पे शो किए हैं वो काफी लो लाइट में शो किए हैं। उनके अंदर की एक मिजरी जो है वो भी इस तरह शो होती है कैमरे पे और स्क्रीन के ऊपर। तो बेसिकली अलग अलग टेक्निक्स लेके तो उनकी जो है, जो उनके घर के अंदर जो एक गलत एक आप कह लो एक सिस्टम है जिसके अंदर वो बाप जो है हर बात पे अपनी बेटियों को मारने पे उतर आता है, चीख रहा है, उनको बिना वजह डोमिनेट कर रहा है, अपनी बात में मानने की कोशिश कर रहा है। वो सारी चीजें जो है मिज़ॉन सीन वगैरह और उस तरह शो की गई हैं, और थ्रू आउट मिज़ॉन सीन के अकॉर्डिंग उन्होंने हकीम साहब की डोमिनेंस भी शो की है फिल्म के अंदर और एक स्पेसिफिक सीन के अंदर। फॉर एग्जाम्पल सबको बहुत ही डल किस्म के कपड़े और सबने अपने अपने सर के ऊपर चादरें ली हुई हैं, मतलब जिसको दुपट्टा लिया हुआ उन्होंने, और हकीम साहब को उन्होंने एक वाइट बिल्कुल वाइट साफ सुथरा शलवार कमीज पहनाया ताकि वो स्टैंड आउट कर सके थ्रू आउट द सीन। एक सीन होता है जिसमें वो पूरी फैमिली बैठी है, उसमें उनको वाइट शलवार कमीज पहनाया हुआ ताकि वो स्टैंड आउट कर सके थ्रू आउट द सीन, और वो मतलब डोमिनेटिंग एक द फिल्म इज ऑल अबाउट द पेट्रियार्कल स्ट्रक्चर जो है हमारी सोसाइटी में, और उसको एज इट इज जो है फिल्म में रिप्रेजेंट किया गया है कि उनको अपनी बेटियों के आउटस्पोकन होने से इश्यू होता है, उनको अपनी बेटियों के बाहर घूमने से इश्यू होता है, उनकी हर वो चीज जो एक मॉडर्न फेमिनिस्ट वुमेन जो है करना चाहती है कि उसको उसके राइट्स मिले, वो अपने राइट्स के लिए जब जब बोलना चाहती है हकीम साहब को उस चीज पे इशू होता है, और वो उसको इस्लाम के साथ लिंक करके कि ये बेहयाई है, ये हमारा इस्लाम इस चीज की इजाजत नहीं देता, इस्लाम को गलत तरीके से यूज करके वो हर दफा उनको काबू बंद कराने की कोशिश करते। ये बेसिकली पूरी फिल्म का है, और इस फिल्म के अंदर थ्रू आउट जो है वो इसी तरह दिखाया गया कि जिस तरह मैंने अपनी थीसिस स्टेटमेंट में कहा कि जिस तरह जो सोसाइटी में हो रहा है एग्जैक्ट वो चीजें फिल्म में शो होती हैं। तो यहाँ पे ये बोल जाए उसकी सबसे बड़ी और सबसे क्लियर एग्जांपल है जिसमें मल्टीपल सोशल इश्यूज जो हैं वो एज इट इज फिल्म के अंदर शो किए गए हैं। जो मैंने अपना लिखा है आर्टिकल लिखा है, सॉरी रिसर्च पेपर जो लिखा है, उसके अंदर भी मैंने अलग अलग एग्जांपल्स जो हैं और रेफरेंसेस जो हैं वो यूज किए थे। जो क्लास रीडिंग है उसमें से ये अहमद सदफ का 2016 का मैंने रेफरेंस यूज किया है। उसमें वो भी कहती हैं कि हाँ जी बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है कि एक औरत को एक सेक्स ऑब्जेक्ट के तौर पे सिर्फ शो किया जाता है और एक विक्टिम के तौर पे शो किया जाता है। और फिर ये बैंक एडी एक और वो है रिसर्च था, रेफरेंस था जो मेरी थीसिस स्टेटमेंट के साथ एग्री करता था कि पाकिस्तानी वुमेन जो है उनको काफी वीक और काफी कमजोर शो किया गया है पाकिस्तानी फिल्म्स एंड ड्रामा के अंदर। और ये फातिमा 2019 वाला जो रेफरेंस है ये भी बिल्कुल जो मेरा थीसिस स्टेटमेंट है इसके साथ एग्री करता है और साथ में क्लियरली बताता है कि जो 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 इश्यूज चल रहे हैं पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में उसको बिल्कुल एज इट इज उसी तरह फिल्म और ड्रामा में रिप्रेजेंट किया जाता है।
I'm sorry to cut you. I think it's been more than 20 minutes.
बस खत्म हो गया, इट्स ऑलमोस्ट डन, ये लास्ट स्लाइड ही थी।
Okay.
सो आई एम प्रीटी मच डन। या खत्म हो गया। और मैं ये सिर्फ वो रेफरेंसेस हैं कि मैंने क्लास रीडिंग के भी अंदर से भी अलग अलग जगहों से रेफरेंसेस लेके तो अपने रिसर्च पेपर में भी मेंशन किया।
ठीक है ठीक है
सही है।
ठीक है गाइस, कोई कमेंट्स, कोई सवाल करेगा प्लीज? Okay, Hassan, I thought your presentation was great. I personally loved the film. लेकिन एक फिल्म का पार्ट है जो आपने मेंशन नहीं किया, वो द होल प्रोस्टिट्यूशन साइड, इमान अली का जो रोल था, that also shows an immense amount of misogyny and patriarchal society, because उसमें दूसरी साइड भी दिखाते हैं, how he goes there and he ends up marrying her just for the sake of, you know, gaining a son, I think, and then he ends up having a daughter instead. तो वो जो सारा आइडिया था कि एक प्रोस्टिट्यूट का शादी तो कर ली लेकिन उसके घर में बच्ची नहीं रहने देगा, वो अपने घर बच्ची ले आता है, because he judges them for how they live and earn for themselves, because he's a...
और वहाँ पे भी उसका मेन वही होता है कि मैं एक और शादी करके, उसका मेन कोशिश होती है कि मुझे किसी तरह बेटा मिल जाए।
Exactly. तो वो उसका माइंडसेट वहाँ ही है।
हाँ, कि मुझे एक बेटा चाहिए, बेटे से ही मेरी नस्ल चलेगी। वो टिपिकल एक गलत सोच एक है, वो वही उसमें थ्रू आउट फिल्म में शो किया। इवन जो उसका अपना बेटा है उसको मसला होता है कि ये ट्रांसजेंडर क्यों है। हाँ, तो उसको वो जो है बिल्कुल इसी तरह की एक मेल डोमिनेटिंग उसको चाहिए कि यार इसी तरह हो सारा।
ग्रेट परफॉर्मेंस। आगे कौन है? या डज एनीवन एल्स वांना प्रेजेंट? गाइस
मैं प्रेजेंट कर देता हूँ मोहम्मद जहांगीर।
ओके, थैंक यू।
स्क्रीन शेयर हो गई मेरी?
यस,
स्क्रीन नजर आ रही? ठीक है। ये मैंने रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ विजुअल प्लेयर इन पाकिस्तानी फिल्म किया है। इस पे सबसे पहले तो अर्ली सिनेमा पे हम आ गए। अर्ली सिनेमा जैसा कि हम सब जानते हैं कि बहुत ही साफ सुथरी मूवीज दिखाई जाती थी जिसमें सेक्सुअल कंटेंट बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता था, और अगर कोई लव स्टोरी भी दिखाई जाती थी तो उसमें भी इस चीज का ख्याल रखा जाता था कि मतलब कि जो प्रेजेंटेशन होती थी वुमेन्स की वो बहुत अच्छे तरीके से होती थी, बाकायदा अच्छे लिबास में। और इसी तरह उसके बाद फिर ये मोशन पिक्चर ऑर्डिनेंस है 1979 में, तो उसमें फिर काफी ज्यादा लिबर्टी इन्हें मिल गई, काफी आज़ादी हुई। तो उसके बाद फिर इन्होंने ना ग्रेजुअली ये मूवीज में चेंज आना शुरू हो गया। और ये इसका मेन जो इसमें चेंज आने की वजह ये थी कि पाकिस्तान में हॉलीवुड और बॉलीवुड की मूवीज जो दिखाना शुरू की तो उसमें विजुअल प्लेयर का यूज ज्यादा था, तो पाकिस्तानी मूवीज को उस तरह से ओवरवेलमिंग रिस्पॉन्स नहीं मिल रहा था बिजनेस के लिहाज से। तो मतलब अगर कोई बॉलीवुड की मूवी या हॉलीवुड की मूवी होती थी तो उससे लोग देखने जाते थे। अगर उर्दू स्पीकिंग और उर्दू स्पीकिंग पाकिस्तानी मूवी जो कि अच्छी वैल्यूज पे बेस्ड होती थी वो अगर लगती तो कोई देखने नहीं जाता था। तो इस तरह आहिस्ता आहिस्ता चेंज आता गया और हमने अपनी जो मतलब वैल्यूज हैं इनफेक्ट हमारी लूज होगी और हमने उसी तरह की मूवीज बनाना शुरू कर दी जिस तरह की हॉलीवुड और बॉलीवुड में बन रही थी, जिनमें ये सेक्सुअल कंटेंट दिखाया जाता था। उसके बाद विजुअल प्लेयर ने सर्टेन एंगल और पोस्चर्स पे काम करता है, जो भी प्रोड्यूसर होता है या डायरेक्टर जो भी होते हैं, उनका जो मेन फोकस होता है वो मूवी की स्टोरी या क्रक्स पे नहीं होता, बल्कि वो ज़्यादातर उनका फोकस जो होता है वो सेक्सुअलाइजेशन पे होता है, या जो मतलब फीमेल कैरेक्टर वो यूज़ कर रहे हैं उसको किस तरह उन्होंने प्रेजेंट करना है, उसके डिफरेंट एंगल से उसे दिखाया जाए ताकि वो फैसिनेट करे और मतलब मेल ऑडियंस को के दरमियान वो मेल और फीमेल ऑडियंस में टेंशन क्रिएट करे, और इस तरह मतलब सेक्सुअली वो इन्हांस करता है सीन्स को। उसके बाद राइजिंग विजुअल प्ले, ये पाकिस्तानी सिनेमा में पहले, ये जो मैंने बताया कि 1974 में ये पहली मूवी आई थी नौकर वकील, जिसमें मतलब बिल्कुल ही थोड़ा सा इन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया, इन्होंने आहिस्ता आहिस्ता शुरू किया था।
Yes, ma'am. Two people presented, Amir and Muhammad Jahangir.
So let's go for next presentation.
So I'll start. So my topic is the misogyny, philogyny of women in a Pakistani drama. So next slide, Zarish. So basically, Pakistani dramas claim to portray the reality of Pakistan society, but the media plays an essential part in promoting the dominating ideologies. It represents the acquired values and beliefs regarding the roles of men and women in Pakistan's culture and the associated gender stereotypes and attitude. In the case of Pakistan society, the media consistently encourages sexism and misogyny, so it gets regulated on a deeper mental level. These deep-rooted ideologies end up being transmitted from generation to generation, and through vicarious reinforcement, women are taught to stay in the boundaries that are created for them. And if they do not, extreme consequences are shown to induce fear. Next slide. So my thesis statement will be, this brings us to the conjectural conclusion that Pakistani drama serials promote misogyny in all its forms to suppress the women of our society by attaching negative connotations with working girls, putting the burden of family honor on female shoulders, and sexualizing female characters. Next slide. For my research, I've chosen the drama serial Khaas, which is written by Sarwat Nazir and was aired on 17 April 2019 on Hum TV. The story of Khaas revolves, the previous slide. The story of Khaas revolves around Sabah, who realizes her seemingly perfect husband Amar is an emotionally abusive, narcissist who demeans her at every aspect of life. So Sabah is criticized for not taking the emotional abuse of her husband on a lighter note, and the tension grows between them as Sabah wants to do a job, but Amar cannot tolerate this, as it will draw more attention to her. His self-centered and manipulative personality leads to their divorce. They both remarry, but the journey after divorce for Amar is obviously easy and without any judgment, whereas Sabah has to face assassination of her character by family and society. Mar's character is a true depiction of a typical spoiled man of our society whose every act is justified by his family because in his opinion, every act is justified by his family because he's a man. Next slide. So I was supposed to share a clip, but since Aish is sharing for me, I'll just discuss the dialogues I found very misogynistic and demeaning. So in this scene, the working girl idea has been explored, but Sabah is faced with rejection by her husband when she informs him of her decision to work. So the scene begins with Sabah telling Amar that she asked her father-in-law, Amar's father, for the permission to work, and he agreed, to which Amar says, "इससे डांट का क्या ताल्लुक है? बात तो मेरे इजाजत की है और मैं नहीं चाहता तुम जॉब करो." Because in his opinion, according to him, his opinion should be valued the most as he's the husband. Then Sapa reminds him that शादी से पहले he promised that he can work, and he says, to which he says, और शादी से पहले बीवी को impress करने के लिए थोड़ा बहुत झूठ तो बोलना पड़ता ही है. This particular dialogue reflects how men in our society lie to fit the image of an ideal person before the marriage, but after marriage they cannot be held accountable for their promises. And then when Sabah argues with him further, he says, "जॉब कर ली तुमने तो और दिमाग खराब हो जाएगा." This shows how working women are considered bad dimag in our society. Next slide. So I'll discuss the persuasion techniques used by the director. So musicin was used, like musicin is basically what translates the story into visual scene. So the first aspect is the setting, which was the room. Then And we'll talk about the placement of actors in the room. So when Sabah is angry that Amar went back on his word, she's shown to be standing over Amar and demanding why is he doing so. But after a while, she realizes that Amar is very stubborn. So she tried to convince him with love for that. She's shown to sit down on a sofa below the level of Amar, since Amar is sitting on the bed. And then the camera angle, the scene began with a wide shot of the room to show the context of the whole scene, which then shifted to mid-shot to show conversation between the husband and wife. And the sounds used were diegetic sound, and which were mostly used when Sabah was talking, or when Amar was being very rude towards her to depict Sabah's emotions. Next slide. So the concept of good women and bad women is explored by comparing Amar's first wife Sabah and second wife Salma. Sabah is shown as the opinionated woman, but who is considered wife material in our culture through her Eastern clothing. But Salma is shown as an extremely strong-headed working woman who is self-sufficient, and her character is portrayed through her stylization. Sabah is shown in long frocks, shalwar, trouser, kameez throughout the drama, with long curly hair and typical minimal makeup looks, and mostly dull and neutral colors were worn by her to show her character as a good compromising wife, whereas Salma is dressed in modern attire of fitted jeans and top paired with long floral cardigan, representing her free-spirited, confident self. Her character is implicitly sexualized with tight clothes as compared to Sabah's. So there was this a sentence from the reading, The Working Girls by Tasker, which said the development of wardrobe for working women continues to involve the negotiation of images and ideologies of gender and class, like how Sabah was negotiating the cultural attire of Pakistan. So the next slide. When audience will compare both women, they prefer Sabah more because of her Asian attire. Director uses Salma's attire to create negative association with her character. So, conclusion, while Khaas ends on a note of women empowerment, it creates following associations in the mind of the audience. Like Sabah's divorce topic was going on, it landed her father to hospital. Many Pakistani and Indian dramas, films have created a strong association of daughters divorce with parents' death because it is a stain on the honor of the family. And also, when Sabah experienced miscarriage, it was blamed on her will to like work because she just went to Amar's office one day, and it was said that she experienced that she went to miscarriage because she went to office for one day. And then another association is that family will not be supportive if you're divorced. Like Sabah's parents were not supportive. Her sibling, her elder sister, she worried how her in-laws will react to Sabah's divorce. And then the label of the Talaq Yafta stays. Like, for example, Amar's mother referred to Salma, who was already married before Amar, as a Talaq Yafta in a very bad sense throughout the drama. Norwegian. And then the last one, yeah, yes, ma'am.
I didn't say anything.
Anyway, the last point was people will remain silent. Oh, okay. I'm just discussing the last point. So, while many could recognize Amar's toxic patterns, not any of them took a step for Sabah while they were still married, and instead they remained silent. So, this drama conveys that people may know you are being wrong, but no one will help you. The audience of this drama learns the lessons through vicarious learning as not to repeat the mistakes of Sabah and Salma to earn a divorce to their name. So, in my opinion, my thesis statement is proven right with this drama serial, that it promotes misogyny by suppressing women of our society. That's it.
Okay, very nice. Excellent use of vocabulary and excellent, uh, like scene selection and application of the terminologies. G, questions? Any questions? Any comments?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to comment that it was very well presented and she covered all the points pretty amazingly.
All right. अच्छा ठीक है. अच्छा, one thing that I want to
Also,
say.
there are people waiting.
Gee, I want to say something to all of you. I have admitted everybody. If I wonder who is waiting now, but admitted everyone who was there. So I just wanted to say that all of you are talking about writers, right? I understand that Khalilur Rahman Kaisar became very popular after writing, this play Mere Paas Tum Ho, and people were hardly talking about director. They were mostly talking about writers, and all of you are talking about writers. I would suggest that when you write your papers, instead of writer, mention director, because director represents the whole team, and the execution is by the director, and director actually can decide to shoot a scene differently than whatever the writer is proposing, and actors and directors can ask writers to rewrite the scene. So when we talk about films and dramas, we normally mention director. So I would suggest when you write your final papers, mention the name of the director instead of the writer. Right? Say director is doing this, and you can use the title of the play or the title of the film and the name of the directors alternatively. For example, if you want to say, that Ruswai shows this and this, you can also mention director's name and say the director shows this and this. So director's name and title can be used interchangeably, and it's always the director that we mention while writing about films and TV plays, etc. Okay. All right. All right, so thank you. So who is next? Areeba, I already said that I really liked it that you were presenting on misogyny. I have a specific question from you before we move on to the next one. Do you feel that both the girls actually had both the girls experienced misogyny in Khaas?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would you explain that both of them had this experience of misogyny in one way or the other?
Ma'am, like Saba's character, she experienced misogyny from her in-laws and her husband throughout
Right.
her marriage.
Okay.
Because she just wanted to work. And then they brought Salma's character into the drama. Yeah.
So Salma also experienced misogyny.
So they brought
Both of
Salma's
them
character
are
into the
working
drama to
women.
compare her to Saba.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Like Saba wants to work in the initial stage of the drama, but Salma is already working, and she's shown to be more extreme towards her
Right.
towards she wants, because Saba compromised for her marriage while still wanting to work. But Saba was very strong-headed, so they compared Saba and Salma, and which I thought was very wrong to compare both women just to show Saba was better than Salma.
Right. So drama actually presented both modern women as negative characters until and unless someone was
It did not
domestic.
present.
Ji.
Yes, ma'am. It didn't show Saba's like how she is empowered by her husband and at the end. But during the whole drama, the audience sees because the audience do not generally associate everything with the ending. They see how when she was demanding for her rights, she was met with all the criticism from her in-laws and how the society talked about her. So
Yeah.
it, according to the writer, it was a women empowerment drama, but I did not find it as such.
All right. If you can share the image from Khaas again, I thought that the images of can you share the screen, please? and show me the image of the play, image from the play. Yes. Just go to the image.
Sir is just sharing the screen from you.
No,
But
no,
my
no.
laptop's not working.
With the two husbands.
Oh,
The next one. Yes,
it
I
was
thought
on
that
the fourth slide.
this second male actually is the one who is considered khas in this play because first husband is abusive. But I thought this image was interesting because the second husband image is small as opposed to the image of the first husband. So the negative image is actually stronger and more powerful, and the play is. It's showing Saba's image and first husband's image as big images, and this second husband, her face is much smaller, proportions wise. So I was wondering why is this character who happens to be Khas in the play, his image is why his image is small as opposed to the image of the abusive husband. I don't know, but I just felt that. The one who the one in the foreground
Maybe
is
the abusive.
the one in the foreground is actually smaller. That's what I'm saying. The two in the background are bigger, and they are the two who survive. Okay, thank you. It was just an observation, and I think this needs to be analyzed why it is so. Okay, next one. Who is next?
Ma'am, I am next
Miss,
in
may I
line
present?
in alphabetical order.
Okay,
अच्छा, ठीक.
let's mark attendance first because I'm not sure if I'm getting CMS now. Somehow I'm not accessing CMS. Uh, let me. Uh, नवीद मेरे रूम से ना सीएमएस एक्सेस नहीं हो रहा तो मैं पिछली स्लॉट की भी अटेंडेंस नहीं लगा सकी और अभी भी अटेंडेंस नहीं लगा पा रही. हाँ वो मैं वीसी के ऑफिस में चली गई थी फॉर अ मीटिंग तो मैं आपको कॉल नहीं कर सकी. फोन भी समहाउ बिजली की वजह से डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया था तो प्लीज जरा किसी से कह दें कि चेक कर ले. ओके थैंक यू. जी हु इज नेक्स्ट? आप में से कौन करना चाह रहा है? मैंने आई हैव अलाउड टू शेयर स्क्रीन सो यू कैन शेयर स्क्रीन नाउ इफ यू लाइक.
Yes, I will share the screen. Okay, can everyone see?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay, can you guys hear me as well?
Yes, we can, very clearly.
Okay, so my presentation is on representation, stereotypes, and issues of honor. And the film that I have chosen to analyze is What Will People Say? It is directed and written by Iram Haq. Now, I have chosen this film particularly because it is a film that struck with me even after I watched it. I watched it for a class and I remembered it quite clearly because it was a very traumatic experience watching this film, and I watched it again when I went home. It was released in both Norwegian and Urdu, as it is a Norwegian film, and it also received its first entry for a foreign film category in Oscars. And the title of the film is intensely accurate and as real as it can get, because that is literally the first thing anyone thinks when their presumed honor is wounded. Ke log kya kahenge? Now, this film highlights that very fear of community and their judgment, and slowly takes over the mind of the judgment that slowly takes over the mind of patriarchal individuals. Now, the most dreadful fact about this film is that it is based on the real life of Iram Haq, the writer and the director. Now, the story revolves around Nisha, 16-year-old Norwegian Pakistani, who's living a double life. One of whom she wants to be, filled with freedom, and the other who she has to be for her parents. However, her facade like immediately shatters when her father catches her with a boy in her room, and like the miserable set of events start in her life. Now, the movie explains the lives of first generation immigrant societies living in the West and the issues they face, but from the perspective of like second generation women. However, it is not only like a cross generational misunderstanding. It's presented as this vivid emotional abuse it actually is. Personally, I can relate to it a lot because I can vouch for how insanely alone a woman feels, or like comes under heavy identity crisis when she's living a double life and working like every little day for this little tiny freedom that she can get. Now, this film makes you feel claustrophobic and brutally informs you that institutional sexism starts at home, and like your biggest abusers can sometimes be your parents. Now, the particular I'm going to de-analyze or deconstruct particular scenes because the entire film is filled with things that highlight honor. So I can't choose one particular scene. I want to show like 3 to 4 different deconstruct 3 4 different scenes. Now, the first scene is which when the father and catches the girl with the boy, he beats both of them up, which is why child services get involved, and she's taken to a child service place. Now, when the father comes to see her, he says, "Okay, you'll have to marry him," and she says she can't marry him because she's not in love with him, because she only met him that night at the club, and that's where she brought him home. So he says, "तूने सेक्स किया है उसके साथ and you're not in love with him." To which she immediately replies, "मैंने सेक्स नहीं किया उसके साथ पापा." And when we see the father, and then we see the father like bang the table loudly, startling Nisha, and he immediately gets up and the camera spans upwards and it shows him in a high angle, which kind of makes him look like this powerful overcoming character, and it gives him a lot of authority just with the camera angle. Now, he tells her that he disowns her and she's lying and he does not believe her. Now, this scene depicts the internalized misogyny Pakistani men feel seeing sex as a taboo and marriage as the only solution to that. And when when the daughter disagrees continuously with all of his claims, he says कि नहीं चाहिए तुम्हारी जैसी बेटी, and he storms out only for his honor. Now, this is also another perfect example for positive sexual oppression. We studied this in one of the class K notes has this sexual liberation by Danny Frederick. हमने पढ़ा था how positive sexual experience is taken as like something that is not okay or something that is wrong and degrading. Now, moving on, there's another he immediately goes to his friends, and वहाँ पर हमें एक और चीज नोट की जाती है कि when he's sitting with his friends, one of his friends says, "You can't let her stay there as like others might copy her, our kids might copy her, so you have to make an example out of this." And the other one states, "You have to punish her or else we won't be able to show our faces to anyone." Now, these are not immediate relatives or any blood relatives. These are just his friends. They are part of his community. This reminded me of the documentary that we watched in class, The Girl in the River, and उसमें भी उसका बाप यही कहता है कि मेरे बाकी कोई भी हमारे खानदान का बंदा कभी ऐसे नहीं करेगा because हमने जो उसके साथ किया है. So like this entire notion that like men's honor bruises immediately when they see a woman's liberty of choosing differently or define them. Now, every decision the father takes after this scene is to save his honor and stop his friend's judgment and set an example for everyone. ठीक है, they collectively plan her kidnapping and make a decision to take her to Pakistan to live with her extended family. Now, the airport scene is very triggering. But it doesn't really show anything, but it's so impactful because there are little tiny close-up shots of Nisha looking around just so she can find someone who she can help, or like close-up shots of her father squeezing the life out of her hand, like and she has not held it at all. तो मतलब वो overbearing था, मतलब एक बंदे को as an audience watching that. Now, he has so much control over her that he silenced her voice even like just with immense fear. वो चीखती उस टाइम तो वो बच सकती थी, पर वो उसकी आवाज ही बंद हो गई थी, like physically she could not speak. Now when she comes to Pakistan, she goes through a lot of traumatic experiences. She isn't able to like she doesn't give up. She says कि I'm going to, she runs away a lot of times, but since she's in an unknown culture and unknown society, country, she can't find her way around, and they live in a very like lower class community जहाँ पर airport भी 300 किलोमीटर दूर है उधर से. And then she is shown to do all house chores. She's dressed in traditional clothes. She's forced to accept the rigid culture that completely eradicates the freedom she once enjoyed, even if it was in secret. Now उसके बाद दिखाते हैं कि वो जब एक दफ़ा ग्रोसरी करने जाती है तो वहाँ से भी भाग जाती है, कंप्यूटर लैब ढूंढ लेती है, एंड शी सेज कि मैं वहाँ मैसेज करूँगी. तो उसकी जो फुप्पी होती है, जो उसकी आंट होती है, स्वीप्स हर अप इन दैट शॉप एंड सेज कि तू बाज नहीं आएगी अपने गंदे कामों से, एंड शी इज लिटरली ओनली मैसेजिंग हर फ्रेंड इन फेसबुक. सो and then she takes her in and she cages her in a room. Now there's a wide shot of her in front of these windows that resemble a jail, क्योंकि वो caged हैं तो वो बिल्कुल resemble करती हैं like as if she's inside a jail. And there's a shot of her giving up and sitting in the corner around dirty walls that define how caged she mentally feels and has felt her entire life. Now her uncle immediately takes her out of that room and says कि अगर उसने बात नहीं मानी तो he will get her married to an old uneducated man, and she will be in a worse situation. Now this is another form of mental abuse, telling a woman you're currently exploiting in the name of honor that she can have it worse. At least she's getting food on time or has a shelter on top of her head. This again reminded me of the reading we did on a river, a girl in the river, जिसमें वो बताते हैं कि if a girl is considered कि अगर उसको ये चीजें दी जा रही हैं तो she should not seek anything else. Just like उस डॉक्यूमेंट्री में भी उसका बाप बोलता है कि उसका खाना तो मिल रहा था ना, तो उसे और क्या चाहिए था. So then the uncle gives her the passport and tells her to burn it. Now there's a close-up shot of her burning the passport, and Nisha staring at it depicts her forfeiting this war and like losing all hope. फिर उसके बाद दिखाते हैं 9 महीने गुजर गए and she's living peacefully, and she's attending classes and she's going to school and she doesn't plan on running away at all. But then there's another thing that we notice. In the left side, you can see there's a picture of a male with her. That's her cousin, Pupi ka beta, Asif. Now, she has developed this likeness towards him, and they've grown really close. Now, because of this culture clash, she gets into bigger problems because she becomes interested in her cousin, not knowing what trouble that could lead her into. Now, since she's confused between the two countries she's been to, she assumes the streets of Pakistan are safer than her own house, as she got caught with a boy in her house last time. So when he takes her to the streets, she comfortably goes with him to the streets. And as they're sharing an intimate moment and they're embracing each other in the corner of the street, a few policemen catch them, only to physically and verbally abuse them. Now, what happens next is the most disturbing, triggering scene in the entire film that has traumatized me, at least. And I can't even show it because I think it would need a bigger trigger warning for everyone in the class to see it. So I will show something that happened afterwards. Now, the policemen, after doing whatever they do, they tell her to strip and ask Asif to touch and kiss her while they videotape, and one of the police officers masturbates to this. It is outwardly disgusting what they've done, and they feel no shame afterwards, as they claim that the two were already doing something morally wrong. Now, this is another case of stereotyping honor. They bring the two home and show the uncle and aunt the video and ask for money in return, and keep insulting Nisha throughout and not say a single word about Asif. अब ये scene मैम मैं दिखाना चाहूंगी if it'll be less than 30 seconds. बड़ी बेशर्म लड़की है, शर्म ही नहीं है. जल्दी करो, जल्दी बुलाओ और भी काम है. See, so even now they're only pointing fingers at the girl and saying कि बहुत बेशर्म है, and she was doing all of this in front of everyone. Now, they bring her in only to emotionally and physically abuse her further, while Asif is not questioned at all. वो कोने में बैठा हुआ होता है. इसको अपने बाप से फोन करवाते हैं and they'd ask her to tell her the truth. Now, it foreshadows the beginning of the film when she claims she did not have sex, and just like then, even now her father doesn't believe her. The aunt angrily takes her phone away from her and tells him that Nisha seduced my son and made him have sex with her, which is clearly a lie because we as an audience have seen what happened. And Asif is the one who took her to the streets, and Asif is the one who initiated their romantic relationship. Now, when the father comes back, all the blame goes straight to Nisha, and victim blaming obviously is the only response some are capable of giving. So when the father asks Asif to marry Nisha and asks his sister, जो phuppi होती है, कि इनका रिश्ता कर देते हैं, the phuppi says, I will not have itni ghatiya and unclean aurat in my house. And when he asks Asif directly, he claims that no, he will only do what his parents are saying. Now, Nisha is looking at her father, and there's a shot of her looking at her father and somehow asking for help without saying anything. And instead of her father standing up for her or taking her side, he spits on her face, which is again, this entire particular scene for it makes you think that the kind of parents that she had, who only listened and trusted strangers rather than their own kid. Now he takes her back, and on the way there's an entire scene in the cliff where he tells her to jump off the cliff, and she says no, and he chokes her, but he stops in midway and he says, okay, you have ruined my life, and I can't see or face anyone because of you. Now when he takes her back to Sweden, we see all the aunts and aunties standing in the balcony in their community, and they're all staring at her, and she looks down the entire time, as she herself feels a culprit, and it's like a walk of shame that she's doing in the entire alley. Or sab usko dekh rahe hain aur fingers point kar rahe hain. I mean, the only thing that was missing was them throwing garbage at her, because it felt like that. It was so uncomfortable watching that scene. And then she comes back only under a bigger prison, because they take away her phone, they stop her from talking to anyone, they drop and pick her from school under heavy surveillance. Now she silently obeys all of this. She even lies to child protection services. So, phir bhi, her mom is not happy, and her mom continuously physically and mentally abuses her all the time and says कि तुम पैदा होते ही मर क्यों नहीं गई, तुमने हमारी इज्जत खराब कर दी है. And then they forcefully get her arranged a marriage, like fix कर देते हैं उसकी with some guy in Canada who claim कि ना ही काम करेगी और ना ही शादी ना ही पढ़ेगी आगे, because her character is not good. So what if she runs away from home after wedding? So ये कुछ भी नहीं करेगी, बस घर में बंद रहेगी, which her parents happily like encourage and say this is perfect, this is great. Now we see the only particular scene at the end near the climax. It's the end of the movie, and we see her go into her room, and she's laying down and looking at the roof, and she's crying. And I feel like at this moment we see her realize that sacrificing everything to save her parents' assumed honor will get her nothing but only misery. And then she immediately gets up as if she's had an epiphany and climbs out the window and out of her house as her father watches from his window. But even till the end, हमें ये नहीं पता चलता कि उसका बाप disappointed होके देख रहा है, या he's given up and he's letting her live in her freedom. Now that is something that I also had a problem with in this film, that it shows all of this, it shows all of that, but it doesn't show anything being done to the abusers. Matlab theek hai, I mean, because I guess it's based on a real story, so we don't really see any conclusion, but हमें दिखाना चाहिए ना कि अगर the parents inflicted so much abuse on her, there should be some consequences shown to prevent that from happening. But there aren't any consequences shown. No abusers get punished for what they've done. She just runs away from that to live her own life, and as if I think Iram Haq also did in her life as well, and she went on to become a film director. Now, in conclusion, this film in its totality focuses on the height parents will go to save their honor. It shamelessly portrays the intense oppression young girls face and how they're caged by their own family members just to maintain the appearance of traditionalism. It merely imposes feminine obedience, sugarcoating their love with like slavery and bondage. I'm done. Ma'am, are you there?
I was talking and I didn't realize that my mic was off. Very nice presentation, Iqra. Any comments from the class?
Ma'am, I have a comment.
Ji, Amna.
I really like the presentation and how she deconstructed the entire film scene by scene, the जो important थे. At the end, जो इकरा का था वो you know how she wanted you know to know कि जो abuser है उसके साथ क्या हुआ, and you know she was expecting कि कुछ होगा ये होगा, but I feel like वो शायद वो इस वजह से भी नहीं दिखा सके because कुछ ऐसा होता ही नहीं है उसके कोई वो मतलब कि the abuser never has to face consequences. अगर इस तरह की कोई society है जहाँ पे वो है, तो I think maybe that's why they didn't show कि क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता. प्लस मुझे आई हैवंट वॉच्ड द फिल्म बट जिस तरह से इकरा ने बताया दैट हाउ शी यू नो लीव्स द हाउस और वो थोड़ा मुझे आई डोंट नो इफ ये जो एंडिंग है वो भी इकरा वो रियल थी कि हाउ शी लीव्स द हाउस एंड
Yeah,
हर
she ran
father
away
is watching.
in real life as well, and she's still not in contact with her family members. That is
Oh,
the
अच्छा.
only way
Mhm.
the only reason I let go of the fact that they were using honor as a plot device. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine because वो reality थी ना, उसके साथ वो हुआ
हाँ,
था.
if it's the reality के end में जो है she leaves the house, I think then it's fine. But अगर तो वो होता कि मतलब कि उन्होंने वो एक conclude करने के लिए ये part डाल दिया where it was after everything she's been through and now it's very easy for her to just leave
Oh, this is
everything
what happened
behind,
to
her
me.
family and everything. तो वो मुझे थोड़ा सा unrealistic लगता, but since it's very real, तो हाँ इट्स आई थिंक इट्स जस्टिफाइड कि वो
Yeah.
उन्होंने काफी उससे किया बट ओवरऑल आई लाइक कि वो काफी अच्छी मतलब कि वो थी द बिल्डअप ऑफ द स्टोरी.
All right. So what does real exactly mean? Is it based on a true story?
Yes, ma'am. The writer and the director of the film experienced this. It's from her life, like the events that took place.
Okay. So in the end, you are saying that she leaves her family. So by making such a decision, she becomes the in charge of her personal matters. She
Exactly.
actually she actually turns into a subject, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other comment, please?
Miss, I just want to say that the presentation was very like it was very beautiful itself, like the theme and the pictures vagera. It even though for people who haven't watched the movie, like I could understand what Ikra was trying to say, and like it was very visually pleasant to look at the presentation. So.
Okay. All right. So Ikra, I just have two,
Okay,
three
ma'am.
comments. I think basically you can summarize that I have only one comment, but it's about certain words that you used in the presentation. It was a very nice presentation, very well done. But when you use words like, for example, you mentioned disgusting, you mentioned shamelessly, and you also talked about what dramas or films should show, right? And
Yeah.
what they should do for prevention, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So the words like disgusting and shameless, these are the type of words that normally journalists use when they are writing about the plays in various newspapers, right? So in academic writing, we should be very neutral. We have to neutrally examine situations, and when we use words like disgusting and shameless, that is more of our own cultural experience, because we are calling it shameless because we have certain norms, right? Um,
Right.
so I would take you back to one of the abstracts that we have in Google Classroom. If you remember, we discussed various abstracts on misogyny and philogyny, right?
Yes.
And one of the abstracts was on slut shaming.
Right.
Do you recall the abstract on slut shaming?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this article, I think it's the second abstract right here. The Colombian brand Mesclo. It's open right in front of you right now. I
Yes.
hope you can see it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if I were looking at the abstract as a Pakistani, the first thing I would say is, oh, it's so disgusting, right? Because we are discussing slut shaming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So but this author does not mention that these nail polish names are shameful, okay? uh,
Right.
it does not mention anything of that kind at all.
Hmm.
So okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying, because the article is trying to analyze how people create a discourse on about these nail polishes, because some are named rash, slutty, flirtatious, controlling, domineering, etc. Right? So the author is very neutral. And as I said earlier, that if I was looking at it as a Pakistani, I will begin with disgusting, right? So I would say shameful is would be the first word that I would use as a Pakistani. And then we are talking about slut shaming. I would probably ask, what do you want? Sluts have to be ashamed of their work, right? The article does not say anything like this. Article does not say that we should like culturally emphasize on slut shaming. The article, this abstract is very neutral. It is just examining responses of different users, male and female responses, and how they are reacting, how they are trying to say that these names are shameful or bad. So author herself is not calling it shameful. There may be tweets that call it shameful.
She's
Right?
quoting.
Yes, so she's just saying how different people are reacting. Some may be calling it shameful, and other may not be calling it shameful, right? So, so I mentioned it because I thought you are one of like you are an excellent student, and your work is mostly very academic, and you look at things very deeply. So I thought this is the only thing that I wanted to mention, that you should be neutral while analyzing situations, and even if
I try really hard to be, but it's sometimes I just get really triggered, and then I become like I start ranting because it's so personal, and I know I need to differentiate between the two. I need to know when I'm writing.
that's perfectly fine. What you said was strong. It was, I said your presentation was very good. It was excellent. I was only concerned about neutrality, and I thought you should be neutral when you are analyzing. So from your final paper, if you still have these words like disgusting and shameless, etc., I would suggest be neutral when you are writing your final exam. Okay. So this is the only concern. Apart from that, I don't mean that there would be any negative marking for getting emotional or for using these words. No negative marking at all. It was an excellent presentation. I just want you to be neutral the next time. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will continue in the next session. And I believe that we had presentations from 6 students today. That's a bit less, but we will try making it up in the next slot. Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay, so class time is over. So anyone who wants to leave can definitely leave, and anybody who wants to ask any question can stay and ask the question.
मिस फाइनल का थोड़ा सा लाइक जो फाइनल का हमने ऐसे लिखना है we have to follow the same guidelines because the word limit is like 3000. So I was like a bit flustered कि how are we supposed to go about it. तो अगर आप वो थोड़ा सा बता दें please.
The only thing that I want that I am okay if your essay is longer. There is no negative marking for longer essays. Okay. I thought it should be of minimum 3000 words. So I have given the lesser limit because some people may want to develop the same essays and some may want to write new essays. Okay. So I'm saying that.
I'm sorry for cutting you, but for the midterm, was it minimum 1500 or like could we write more than that?
You could definitely write more than that. I did want that because it says plus minus 1500. So plus minus 1500 actually implies that you can write longer essays. So in some of the universities, the word limit for the final research paper is 5000. And I thought it may be difficult for some students to write 5,000 words. So that's why I decided that the final paper should at least be 3,000 words long, but you can definitely write longer essays.
Okay. Okay.
Please make sure that I can understand your thesis statement or research question when you write your paper, and I can see literature which should not be, like links of newspaper articles. You can refer to newspaper articles, but I would definitely be looking forward to academic research, right? So literature review part actually should include proper research articles. I'm not saying don't use newspaper articles at all. You can take something from there as well. But you should definitely use proper research articles, and we have many in Google Classroom. Please do use papers from Google Classroom, because that means that you're uh, writing and writing the articles and thinking about literature that we have discussed. So it's extremely important that you use literature that we have discussed and find some new literature too.
Okay.
Okay? All right
Okay,
then.
miss.
Okay, should we conclude the session now
Yes,
then, if there is no other question?
yes, miss.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and take care.
Thank you, ma'am.